Questions about the research that I did. Basically, the problem statement that I was looking at is at Columbia High School, graduates less than 80% of the students who start here in ninth grade, and actually it's about 30%. Nationally, it's 25%. And so that's not a thing we need to beat the national trend in. This is a national, state, and local problem because these dropouts have issues late in life. Now, some of the research that I looked at, there's a quote from there that actually really caught my eye, and so I put it in here for emphasis. But on average, a dropout earns less money, is more likely to be in jail, is less healthy, is less likely to be married, and is unhappier than high school graduates. Now, that to me says we need to work on this and get people graduating from high school. That to me says that they're going to be a drain on society in the future, whether they're in jail or unemployed or whatever it is. And so it's something that we absolutely need to look at and work on. And so one of the reasons why I want to focus on this is because we have a cohort here, and we have a policy where everybody signs that their commitment to graduate. And so we already have some ideas and programs in place to promote this idea of getting everybody graduated. And so that's why I wanted to look at it like this. So my hypothesis and some of the definitions that I looked at in this study were students who have dropout flags are more likely to drop out. And most people look at it and go, well, duh, and that's right. And it is right. But what are those dropout flags? When we talk about the dropout flags, we're talking about the issue of the things that cause people to drop out. And so what are they? Some of the ones that I identified in the study and the research that I did were specific to certain areas of the country. But some of those that were predominant across the country were things like if someone had failed any grade. If they had failed any grade from kindergarten all the way up through ninth grade, their likelihood to drop out increased exponentially. And one of the studies actually said that there were 3 factors that if they had all 3, every student that had all 3 of these factors dropped out of high school. And those factors were that they had failed a grade, any grade, that their mother had not graduated from high school, and that they had some type of issue during their primary years with the family separating parents or divorce or a death of a parent. And so those 3 issues, every single student, male and female, over 1,000 students in this study, dropped out of high school. So when we look at identifying students and factors and flags that could cause people to drop out, we have to be proactive. We have to find those things, identify the students, and then do something about it. Some of the terms that we looked at, 9th through 12th grade students, Columbia High School students, 3rd grades, 9 through 12. It's obvious. Dropout flags are indicators of students who are at risk to drop out. And then dropout is any student who leaves high school without completing the course requirements for graduation. Pretty self-explanatory. So literature review actually looked at journals, periodicals, different educational and medical and scientific periodicals and journals to find the information that I got. There were over 11 actual articles that I used, and each one of the articles referred to other articles, so you could go on exponentially looking at those things. But these 11 peer-reviewed articles, journals, periodicals, educational, medical, and scientific areas led me to the information that I gathered to make my presentation. And then the action plan, things that I thought of and saw in the research were to train the teachers to identify at-risk students. We need to make sure that teachers know how to find those students and know what you're looking for. What are those factors? We need to train the teachers to use multiple intelligences and differentiated teaching methods for lesson planning. And we do a really good job of that here. We actually are working on teaching people and getting people involved in doing these kind of things on a regular basis. And then tutoring, training, and teaching students how to learn and pass. Those students that we identify that have failed a grade, they need to be encouraged that you can make it, that you can get through. I was just talking to a student just a little while ago who said, well, my mother did graduate, but I had failed a grade, and I didn't know that about him, but he graduated. And he said the only other one I did have was issues in primary, but he had several of the factors that we talk about. And he could have failed, but his drive and determination and self-confidence overcame those things. So they can be taught to learn and pass and overcome those things. And then monitor progress and adjust accordingly. Now, how do we get the information that we use for this? We use benchmark testing, we use STAR data, we use whatever kind of testing and information that we can find to promote these type of things. And we're already doing a lot of things that we need. We have tutoring going on, we have after-school activities and those kind of things. So we have these things in place. We just have to implement them and make it more of a cohesive plan. And that's what I'd like to help do. And so these are some of the references that I mentioned, some of the things that we looked at. So given the information that I've shared with you, does anybody have any comments or questions about these things? Yes?
Is it specifically the mom, or could it be the dad as well?
The research that we looked at that was in that journal article specifically said it was the mom that did not have a high school diploma. But in the case of separation of parents, a lot of times the mom will have the children, and so that probably tended to affect it more because the mom had the kids. But that was information that they had in that article. Anybody else specifically about Columbia?
I'm curious as to the very first statistic that you put up in regards to Columbia High School, that 80% of the students who start out as freshmen here do not graduate.
Mm-hmm.
I just had no clue about that. How did that?
Well, I looked back at some of the graduation statistics that we had for several years.
Like on a state report?
Yes,
Like
yes.
report card?
Yes.
I see.
And compared it to the federal report card, and we're actually higher than the federal. So we definitely need to focus and narrow down the aspect of identifying these kids and then helping the ones that are at risk. I think the most important thing is just letting them know that they can still make it. You know, because the one common factor throughout all the research that I saw was if somebody had failed a grade. They get so frustrated. And they said, especially if it's ninth grade. One of the articles specifically focused on ninth grade. So if the kids fail ninth grade,
Right.
which they're here then, they're already here. If they fail ninth grade, then they're really likely to fail.
Hence the academy.
Exactly.
Statistics show that.
Right, so the academy's helping, the after-school tutoring is helping, the peer mentoring is helping, the teacher training is helping. So all these things are increasing our graduation rate. But we need to make it a cohesive plan and work together to get everything going in the right direction to increase the graduation rate and lower that dropout rate.
Well, I think if you look at it, several years ago, the graduation rate was lower, but for the last cohort, we were up to 90% almost.
And that's exactly right. And that's what brought my attention to this when I was looking for what issue could we look at. Because last year, Megan did some information on the increasing the IB cohort graduation and getting that IB diploma rate up. Well, looking at that and then looking at the data, looking at the whole school, I said, well, we also need to increase the entire graduation rate, which it is increasing. And that's why I said ninth grade academy has helped, block scheduling is going to help.
Yep.
All these things that we're doing and
They do
implementing is going to move that in that direction.
And lots of hard work on those part, and the students' part.
Brendan?
Coaching, I know this guy. He failed one grade in high school, but he was offered, like Calhoun, he offered, there were classes that offered. What do you think about that? Because I mean, nowadays, there's careers that you don't really need high school to say. Most
Well,
of it.
my answer to that is that's why we started the IBCC program, because it's a great complement to what you're saying. A lot of kids don't want to go to college because they think I can do a career right out of high school, and that's true. But the high school diploma, as a business owner and somebody who's worked in the business world for many years, people are hiring people with master's degrees to work running a gas station, okay? So cashier at a gas station at Walmart and Target have master's degrees. So if you have a high school diploma, you're not going to be competitive. You need to get your high school diploma. Now, you can get a certificate, a career certificate or something like that from Calhoun or whatever. They have a tremendous program in robotics and aircraft mechanics aircraft mechanics, you could get out of there making over $80,000 a year.
But you have to
With a
have a high
two-year
school
degree, but you
diploma.
have to have a high school diploma to get into the school. So that's what I would say to people who say, well, I don't need high school. You need it, and you need to stay with it because it will help you in the long run.
The military doesn't even take you now without a
Yeah,
high
the
school
military
diploma.
requires it.
GED doesn't count for the
And
military.
GE doesn't count, so you are closing way too many doors if you don't have that high school diploma. Thank you.
All right.
This is great.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
thank you. Appreciate it. You're supposed to call up here.